Deep Threat Sports Network. We're back at it again. We got Colin, we got Bryant, we got Nolan, we got me. As you guys all know, we're back at it again. We're about 23 days from the start of college football. So I don't know where you guys are at. I know where Colin's at. It's pretty hot, so it doesn't feel like fall just yet. But very many other places in the country does feel like fall. Right around the corner, we're getting ready for some crisp mornings with some college game day, football all day long. You just can't beat it. So our episode today is going to be a big one. It's Deep Threat Sports Network's award show. So basically, we're going to be talking about all the multiple awards that we have going on in the country for college football, such as the Chuck Bednarik, Doak Walker, Fred Biletnikoff, Davey O'Brien Award, the Heisman, and we're also going to do a Heisman long shot. So, boys, how are you guys doing? You guys ready for college football or what?
Dude, other than the heat, I'm doing well. I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw yesterday it said it feels like 121 degrees outside, and that is not for me. That's just way too ridiculous. To your point, no, it doesn't feel like college football season yet just because of the weather, but this is normal. And I'm going to be honest, I feel really bad for the guys that just started up training camp and everything going for college football. Hopefully they're practicing indoors because the heat strokes are at an all-time high. This is unbelievable.
That's why you build all the indoor stadiums.
Yes.
That's what I was going to bring up. I remember one time that the rubber melted off the bottom of my cleats playing on a turf field. It was that hot, and it's not as hot as it is right now. I could not imagine being on a turf field at the moment, especially down in the South. Florida, Georgia boys, good luck to you.
But hear me out, though. Like, what do you do when you got to play in those scenarios? You might as well practice in those scenarios.
Yeah,
I know it's not ideal, but
no, it's not ideal, Dave. This is bad. This is bad, man. I mean, I took the trash to the dumpster yesterday, which was like 15 yards from my front door, and broke out in a sweat on my walk back. And that's not a joke. It is unbelievable. It is absolutely unbelievable. But hey, college football's close. Hey, real quick too, while we're in the beginning of this, when you kind of follow along with us here, make sure you're dropping comments. We can throw them up as we go. Talk about our picks. Talk about if Dave's picks suck or if Dave's picks are good, or for anybody else on the show, because I'm going to ride Dave's ass every time he makes a pick just because of the Travis Hunter situation last year. So got to get a little revenge this year, boys. We cannot let Dave win this again.
Absolutely not. But there's not a player like him, I don't feel like, this season that Dave can hitch his trailer to. So we'll see what he picks. It's probably going to be trash.
All right. Well, Nolan, what do you got for us, Nolan? I know you usually got some interesting topic of conversation, usually a good question for us. What you got for us this week?
So it relates to your Heisman winner last year, Dave. Part of the question is, do we think there's a chance within the next, I'll say 5 years, a non-quarterback wins the award? And the second part of the question, is it because they just had that outstanding of a season, or is it a down quarterback year? Because Travis Hunter last year, he had a great season. He played both ways, right? There was not a quarterback in college football that just had one of those historic years last year. Is that part of the reason he won is my big question.
I mean, I have a couple responses to this. One, I would push back a little bit just in the sense of, like, I felt like Cam Ward did enough if it wasn't for an Ashton Genty and a Travis Hunter type situation where they just had absolutely outstanding seasons. But my other answer to this, it's kind of hard to predict in the next 5 years. I'm going to lean yes, just because I feel like with the way the NIL works and the publicity of certain players now, I feel like it gets them more exposed. And let's not forget, this is a voted on award. So the press sees all this name. If it gets propped up in public, then it kind of takes off from there, right? Kind of like a Travis Hunter situation. I mean, we saw Travis Hunter last year win the Heisman. I think he won the Biletnikoff, won the Bednarik Award. I'm pretty sure he clean swept everything other than the Doak Walker and the Davey O'Brien Award. So I would push back a little bit, but I'm also going to say that, spoiler alert, you could maybe see a guy like Jeremiah Smith this year, who is a huge name in the public's eyes right now all over college football. And that guy could maybe go win the award this year. So you may find one of us on this show later to take a pick on him with Jeremiah Smith. That's kind of where I stand on this. I don't know about Bryant and Dave.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, honestly, because we saw 4 or 5 years ago, before Devontae Smith won, it was straight quarterbacks, running backs all day. I mean, it was 25 years since somebody besides those two positions have won. And since then, it seems like I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, like the niche for this reward has kind of moved off of just quarterbacks and running backs a little bit. So I'm going to go yes. I think there's a chance it's going to happen. It's not likely because it's still mostly a running back and quarterback award, but we're going to see a guy come through like a Jeremiah Smith, somebody like Travis Hunter, possibly even a Caleb Downs-like player that's just very good on what it does, can possibly win the award. So I want to go yes.
I agree. And we'll talk about it a little bit later. I have Jeremiah Smith in some of my conversations. Yes, he's not a quarterback, but I think he's another one of those. He's not Ashton Jeanty, but he has generational talent. A lot of people really believe that he is the best college football player in the country at this moment. Even Ryan Day said, "I don't know how you cover him." He's just an insane athlete. He was only a freshman last year, so he's only going to be better this year. But again, I don't know. There is a lot of good quarterbacks coming up too. So you got Cade Klubnik, you got Arch Manning, you got a lot of guys that can really make a name for themselves. I would even have mentioned DJ Lagway, but we'll see if he can hold up for more than 2 weeks.
He's just kind of staying on the field, dude. But Dave, what you said about Jeremiah Smith being the best player in college football, I think he's tenfold the best player in college football right now. And I've been on record before on our show in this offseason talking about players to watch out for. I brought up Jeremiah Smith, and I talked about how he is the best college receiver that I've watched do it. And I'll kind of stand by that. I mean, what he did as a freshman was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, and you're playing at the highest of levels. You're playing for a national championship. You can't cover this guy no matter what you do. No bracket coverage works. No zone, no man, nothing works. So I feel bad for any defense that plays him. And if Jeremiah Smith doesn't win it this year, then maybe to your point, Nolan, and to answer your question, maybe it is just ace quarterback. And I've been in arguments with my buddies before in group text. They said just get rid of the Davey O'Brien Award and just let the Heisman be a quarterback award. It's a quarterback award. I've been in arguments before, pushing back over the running backs that have won it, the Devontae Smiths that have won it. So it's really, really tough to overtake a quarterback for this award.
I would agree. Let's get rid of the Davey Bryan Award, to be honest. If it's, in my opinion, it's a quarterback award more often than not as the Heisman. It's not a whole lot of times a different player that wins the Heisman and wins the quarterback award. So why not just make it one award?
But what do you do in the situations where Travis Hunter does win it, and then the quarterbacks just have no option for an award, or is it just like hey, you should have done better and won the Heisman?
You should have done better.
Exactly. Yep. They get all the publicity through the season anyway. If the team loses, it's the quarterback's fault. If the team wins, great job by the quarterback.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't hate that. I am going to make a case later when we talk about the Davey O'Brien and the Heisman. Spoiler: I'm going to have a quarterback win my Heisman later, but I'm going to make a case where maybe I don't have necessarily the same quarterback win the Davey O'Brien and the Heisman. So make sure you guys are paying attention for that later because that's kind of where I'm going to be. Dave, what the hell happened here? Did you just fall off a cliff?
Oh, here we go.
There he is. All right, Dave, go ahead and kick us off.
All right, so first and foremost, first one we're going to talk about is probably not the most exciting one, the Chuck Bednarik Award, which is the Defensive Player of the Year Award. So I really want to hear about this one. I haven't looked much into the defensive players, so I'm going to go ahead and start with Brian because I want to hear what Brian's probably got somebody from Mizzou somewhere in there. He's probably got a lineman or something. I don't know. What do we got, Brian?
Mizzou's got some dogs, but I'm picking somebody else from the SEC. I'm going Colin Simmons, defensive end from Texas. 9 sacks as a true freshman. He was a freshman consensus All-American. He was the 6th best defensive end, according to PFF last year, and the 5 guys ahead of him are now in the NFL. So the guy was a top 5 or top 10 recruit coming into high school as a class of 24. He's almost as fast as most wide receivers or tight ends coming off the edge. Can play and drop back and hit linebacker as well. That's his actual position, as you can see there. This guy reminds me of like a Michael Parsons type player. Does it all. Can stand up and rush the passer. Can defend the run. Can get down in the dirt and do whatever he needs to do. So I'm going Colin Simmons. He was elite in high school. He was elite last year, and I think he wins it this year.
Brian, did you have anybody else on your top 3 list?
Yeah, second I had was Caleb Downs. I think that's a pretty easy pick for a lot of people. If you watch his film, the guy's unbelievable. Probably one of the best defenders in the Big Ten for sure, if not the country. He's right there next to Colin Simmons, 1A, 1B. He tackles, he defends, pass breakups, and he even goes in there and returns punts for touchdowns like with ease. So that's just on top of him being a great defender. And then third, my third guy is Austin Big Salad Romaine, middle linebacker for the Kansas State Wildcats. Missouri native from Hillsboro, really close to where you guys live and where we're from. I think he was the best linebacker in the Big 12 last year behind Stutzman, who is now gone. So I think he steps right in there to that 1A best linebacker in that conference and possibly the country. Sideline to sideline, tackles everybody, does not miss tackles. He's great at running that defense, a true captain on the defensive side of the ball for them. And if you watch him, he's just all over the field and not making mistakes. So my third pick was Austin Romaine.
When you text Austin Romaine, I was so fired up because I love watching Austin Romaine play football. We talked about him in our off-season show of players to watch, and he was one of our Big 12 defensive players to watch. This guy is sideline to sideline, nose for the ball, ready to hit somebody in the mouth. I love everything about Austin Romaine. The Colin Simmons and Caleb Downs, they speak for themselves. Those are names that you hear when you watch any college football show or read any college football article. But Austin Romaine is one of the most underrated players in college football, especially from a linebacker standpoint.
No, absolutely. Like I said, there was only one better last year, I think, in that conference was Stutzman. And I wouldn't even maybe say he was right there with him. So he's going to step right into that role, and he's going to be highly sought after in the next level at the linebacker position.
Yeah, for sure. Nolan, you can go ahead if you're ready, buddy.
So my number one for the award, Caleb Downs. I have a feeling Ohio State is going to get up by a lot of points on a lot of people this year. That means they're going to have to throw the ball to try and get back in the game against Ohio State, and I will take this guy playing center field against all of these quarterbacks. I think it's the year of the quarterback, but at the same time, everybody is kind of unproven. More often than not, I should say unproven. We got a lot of new guys this year, and if you got this guy playing center field, I have a feeling lots of picks, or just truthfully, and I think voters should look at this more for the Defensive Player of the Year award, how often they are not thrown at. It is a stat that not many people look at for safeties and corners, but if you only get thrown at 5-10 times in the entire year, in some cases on these elite corners, I think that should be a stat that you have to look at. If 5 times they threw at you, 4 of them incomplete, 1 of them complete for 5 yards, it's not going to be great, gaudy stats, but people are just so scared to throw towards you, says more than the stats will.
And I think the one thing that speaks for Caleb Downs, too, real quick, Nolan, is when Nick Saban comes out his freshman season, when he was playing for Saban and says, this is the best freshman I've ever coached. That speaks volume because we all know the receipts of players that Nick Saban has coached.
Yeah, people were mad when he left Tuscaloosa. Mad.
I get it. I mean, you're losing the best player in the country, arguably.
I mean, he set Christian records at Alabama on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Who else you got, Nolan?
My number 2 is TJ Parker. He is the defensive end from Clemson. And I don't know how much you guys know about this guy, but he actually set the Clemson record for forced fumbles in a season last year. He also set the Clemson true freshman record for tackles in a loss his freshman year. And Clemson has a history the last 10, 15 years of star defensive end, defensive tackles. This guy broke records, set the Clemson record against all of those dudes that came before him. And Clemson gets the benefit of playing in the ACC, which we all think is going to be the 3rd, maybe 4th best conference, depending on how you think about the Big 12. He is going to eat these ACC offensive linemen up. It will be lots of tackles for loss. It will be lots of sacks. It's going to be some pretty big numbers for him this year. And then my 3rd player is CJ Allen. He's a linebacker out of Georgia. He actually had the 2nd most tackles on the entire team last year at their linebacker position. And if Georgia is going to go far this year, their offense has to score points, yes, but it will be on the back of their defense that takes them where they would like to go, and this guy will be the reason for it. He's not only just a run-stuffing middle linebacker. He can rush the passer and get some sacks, forced fumbles, strip sacks, all that. He actually had an interception last year as well, which is a little surprising from the middle linebacker position, but all at the same time, their defense is going to be what's carrying them, and I think this guy's going to be the leader of their defense this year.
I absolutely love all those picks. And if you guys remember as well, TJ Parker on our preseason players watch list this offseason. Love when these guys come back up. It makes us feel like everything we talked about in the months of May and June is really coming to fruition as we get down the stretch, and those guys' names are still being brought up, and love to see that. So I'm going to go ahead and go here. And you guys know me well enough that anytime I have to do some awards, it's really hard for me just to narrow this down. So a couple players on my honorable mentions that I want to throw out here real quick that did not make my list is Anthony Hill, Zane Durant, Peter Woods, who plays right alongside TJ Parker, Denai Dennis Sutton, and Austin Romaine as well. Love all those players. But my number 3 is going to be Dylan Stewart. And if anybody follows our show, they know I talked about this guy week in and week out last year for South Carolina coming off the edge. I think they regress a little bit in that defensive front, really getting after the ball carrier and the quarterback here. But Dylan Stewart's not going to regress. This is a guy that no matter what is going to absolutely tear up offensive linemen. He's going to tear up some tackles. And I think this is maybe a year where we see a couple of offensive tackles not be as high up on draft boards from the SEC as we saw last year. So I think maybe this is where Dylan Stewart can kind of bully some of these guys that are kind of stepping into this role. I love everything Dylan Stewart has to offer, and what he did as a freshman was absolutely unbelievable. So hopefully he can continue this on and really tear it up going into this season. My number 2 is Caleb Downs for all the reasons we've all already talked about. Absolute ball hawk, doesn't get thrown at like Nolan said. Hell, he can run the ball for you. Ryan Dace talked about he returns punts. He literally does everything. So how can you not have a list with Caleb Downs not on it? And my number 1 is going to throw you guys for a loop a little bit here, but hear me out when I talk about this guy. It's Whit Weeks. He's a linebacker from LSU that nobody talks about much. Very Austin Romaine-like. Doesn't get a whole lot of publicity. Kind of came into his own last year a little bit and plays right alongside Harold Perkins. So Harold Perkins was a guy that everybody talked about the most. They never really talked about Whit Weeks. So Whit Weeks kind of lived in the shadows of Harold Perkins. Harold Perkins wasn't doing the things that LSU thought Harold Perkins should be doing, but they found a guy in Whit Weeks who was. Whit Weeks is an absolute monster. He was top 10 in Power 4 tackles in 2024. He works sideline to sideline. He can cover. He can blitz. He can spy the quarterback. Has an absolute nose for the football. And I know Brian's not going to like when I say this, but when you are coached by Blake Baker on the defensive side of the ball, it does make you a better defensive player. So I love everything about Whit Weeks. And I promise you, if you guys watch an LSU football game, watch with number 40, Whit Weeks. He will be involved in the play. Even if he comes in a whistle late, he is going to be there, and he is the quarterback of this defense. I love Whit Weeks, and I think he can take this defense to greater heights this season.
Man, he's got an elite stash too.
An absolute elite.
That is perfection, dude.
Beautiful
right
hair.
There.
Like this is the guy. 6'2", 225, 61 solo tackles last year, 3.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, an interception. This is the guy. Like when you create a player on NCAA, you make your guy like 6'2", 225. That's Whit Weeks. You make Whit Weeks if you're playing as a linebacker.
He's going to have a lot of big games to prove it this year too. Lots of them. Clemson, Florida, Ole Miss, Alabama, A&M, Oklahoma, South Carolina. It's going to be tough offenses to play against, and if he does play well, I could absolutely see him winning.
So, and to that point though, Nolan, like when you play those big games, that's when you get big time publicity, right? If Whit Weeks goes in and he plays one of those games and has an interception and a sack, and he's all over the field, and the announcers start talking about him a little bit, that is where all of a sudden Whit Weeks gains traction. And obviously the defense has to play better this season because it wasn't up to par last year at all. So I love Whit Weeks, man. I'm excited to watch him play this season.
How you talk about those big moments, the defensive player of the year is almost similar to like a Heisman type thing. You got to have those Heisman type moments.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, boys, let's I know we talked about the Chuck Bednarik. So next, let's talk about the Doak Walker, which is running back. I know last year we had a lot of talk about running back with Ashton Genty. This year we do not have an Ashton Genty. I don't think there is necessarily a front runner for this award. I personally, based off of looking at all of what everybody had, I went with Nick Singleton. And I know he hasn't put up the craziest stats. I know he kind of had a bit of a down year last year, but he is playing for Penn State. I think to an extent, he may have a bit of an advantage because having Kaytron Allen playing with him, they're going to wear these defenses down. So I think that's where he kind of gets a little bit of an edge. And then again, you guys know me. I am always going to throw one random guy out there that I'm just going to bank on, and this is going to be my guy this year, Nick Singleton, for the Doak Walker Award. Again, over 1,000 yards, I think 12 touchdowns. But I think he's a solid player. I don't think – would I put my money on it? I don't know. But I think he's got a good chance. And, again, I want to hear what you guys have.
Don't be scared to put your money on Nick Singleton.
100%. That's what I'm saying. I think Nick Singleton will have a great year. I mean, he had a bit of a down year last year, but he has been relatively consistent. And I think the fact that Kaytron Allen is there too, yes, they may have to split reps, but at the same time, they're going to wear those defenses down. And that just allows them as a running back, because you don't want to run up against a healthy defensive line. Like, once you get somebody tired, that's going to make a difference, especially with a position like running back where there's a lot of contact. So that's what I have. Colin, what do you have for running back award? You can't pick Ashton Genty this year, by the way, in case you were considering it.
No, I cannot pick Ashton Genty. You are correct about that, Dave. So once again, this is one of those moments where we're kind of talking about a couple guys. So I have a 3A and a 3B, and that is Nick Singleton and Isaac Brown. Obviously, just had Nick Singleton stats on the board for you. So going to throw up a little Isaac Brown. And the reason, honestly, for me that I went back and forth on this one a lot. And I was all in on Isaac Brown actually winning the Doak Walker this season. And I took a step back when I dove into this a little bit more. And I looked at the fact that Duke Watson is there for this Louisville Cardinals football team. And he does steal a lot of carries, had quite a bit of production last season himself. So that scares me a little bit over the Isaac Brown thing. So that is why I took a step back on him a little bit and moved this guy, Jeremiah Love, to my number 2, who most people I'm sure are going to be talking about as their Doak Walker winner. Jeremiah Love is an absolute monster. If you follow college football, you surely know about Jeremiah Love by now. Had a great showing in the playoffs, and I do truly believe that Jeremiah Love is arguably the best running back in college football. And I also would put Nick Singleton in that conversation as well. But I think when it comes down to this award, it's a lot about production. So I have a guy, when I throw him up there as my number 1, that might surprise you guys a little bit. But also, everybody in the world's picking Jeremiah Love. So that's also why I kind of take a guy with a little bit of value. You guys know me. I'm a betting man. I like to get juicy odds. And I really want to see guys that I can win some money on. So my number 1 is going to be the transfer running back to Oregon in Mekhi Hughes. Mekhi Hughes is the guy in Oregon. He is an absolute monster. And fellas, look at these stats that I have on the screen for you right here. Tulane, the last 2 seasons, 1,300 yards in 2023, 1,400 yards in 2024, 15 touchdowns. This guy is an absolute monster. What a get this was for Oregon. I think he truly elevates them to the next level yet again. And I love that he takes a lot of pressure off the quarterback situation where you're going to have a few question marks coming in. You're going to have a little bit of growing pains for an everyday starter. So I love me some Mekhi Hughes. Give me this guy. Also, a stat that I'm sure most people out there in college football fans do not know is over the last 2 seasons, Mekhi Hughes has had 1,900 yards after contact. You know who was the 2 guys in front of him? Ashton Genty and Omarion Hampton, the 2 guys that went in the first round of the draft last year. Give me Mekhi Hughes all day long. I'm all in, fellas. I love this cat.
All right, Brian, what you got?
I personally think this award is going to be pretty chalky this year. So I've had 3 guys that have already been mentioned. My third pick is Isaac Brown, the running back from Louisville. True freshman last year, ran for 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns. That 7.1 yards per carry is just insane. And man, this guy's a burner. He is so quick and shifty. I think he's put on a little bit of weight in the offseason to be able to run behind those pads a little bit more. He's going to be on a committee, but I think he's going to be more of a 1A this season. So with that speed and size and experience he already has after only 1 year in college football, I think he's going to be right there. My next pick is Nick Singleton. You talk about being in a committee, Dave, but when you have 1,100 yards and you're in a committee, that's pretty a good stat right there. So I'm going with him as my number 2. 375 yards receiving on top of that with another 5 touchdowns. Guy does it all. He's a great pass blocker as well. And I do agree with you, Dave, though, that being in a committee might help him a little bit as far as getting to face lighter defenses, but he's going to be the bell cow for this team. I absolutely believe that. And so we're going to see a lot of what we did last year, elite plays from him and a high-powered offense. So looking forward to Nick Singleton this season. And then everybody can guess what my number 1 pick is. Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame, St. Louis guy, does it all. The only real issue with him, in my opinion, is staying healthy. He had some injury bugs last year and the year before. So we're going to roll with him being all healthy this season. Going to try to top that 1,100-yard pace he set last year. I think this offense will be just as good. An elite offensive line as well will help. Jeremiah Love can make plays all over the field, and that bodes well for him to win this award. And like I said, I think it's going to be pretty chalky this season. So my winner of Doak Walker, I have with Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame.
All right. What about you, Nolan? Who you got? Same guys?
No, sir. I got one new guy, so I won't try and sell you on my 1 and 2, but I'll try and sell you on my number 3. It is Darius Taylor, Minnesota running back. Minnesota is going to be a scrappy, not an easy out team all year this year, and they will do it with defense and running the football. And Darius Taylor is one of, if not the most talented in the Big Ten. And I do understand I have Nick Singleton rated just above Darius Taylor, but I could go either way here. So Darius Taylor at 3, Nick Singleton at 2, and then Jeremiah Love at 1. Don't think I need to go into Nick Singleton and Jeremiah Love, but people need to respect Darius Taylor a little bit more.
I like that pick, Nolan. That dude is a bruiser.
Darius Taylor does not get talked about enough. I have no problem also admitting that. This guy needs to get a lot more credit for what he's doing.
He also catches the ball well. It's not just between the tackles run game stuff. He catches the ball really well. So if Minnesota finds themselves down, they're not statistically one of the better throwing offenses in the Big Ten or truthfully in college football. Those little dump-off passes, he could catch 40, 50 balls this year, end up for 500 yards, and he could easily get 1,800 yards based on just rushing and his receiving alone.
Yeah, he's not coming off the field too, so that bodes well for something like this. Like this award that we're talking about this is a workhorse guy. That's what they want, and the guys that vote for this award, they want to see somebody winning. That's a true bell cow.
Yeah, the best player on Minnesota for sure.
Well, now that we've talked about the Doak Walker running back, I know that one I think is going to be kind of a toss-up. Same guys that we all have for the most part, other than 1 or 2 there. But it's going to be entertaining to kind of see where that goes. I always like it whenever there's not that front runner. When you have, kind of with different positions where you had, somebody just comes out of the blue and wins it. But the next one I want to talk about, and one that I think we're probably all going to agree on, I haven't even looked at who you guys have, is the Fred Biletnikoff Award, which is the top wide receiver award. I personally went pretty vanilla. I got Jeremiah Smith, and I think it's no surprise to anybody to put Jeremiah Smith there. And I really try to convince myself, maybe somebody else. But, man, the only downs that I could see to Jeremiah Smith and with this award, and I always look at it with this award, is being a receiver, you're going to depend on the quarterback. Julian Sayin over at Ohio State, I haven't really, he started, I believe, at Alabama, was there for he was like an early enrollee and then transferred to Ohio State.
He began his career there and then bounced to Ohio State pretty quickly.
So, for me, I don't – how big of a competitor is he? Why not stay in Alabama and fight for the position? I heard it was because Nick Saban retired. Again, I don't know. But, again, you're going to depend on your quarterback, so that's kind of something that I think that's the only thing that I can say negative about Jeremiah Smith winning this award is we don't know what the production of Julian Sayin is going to be this season. So that's my only downside. I mean, we've already talked about, before we even got to this point, we've talked about how everyone thinks he is generational talent. He is the best player in college football at the moment. I mean, just his abilities are insane. And he's on a very good Ohio State team. And he's going to get a lot of exposure, and I think he can live up to that exposure. And every time he gets on TV, you're going to see him do something amazing. Ryan Williams also is one of those that could possibly, fight him for it. But again, quarterback position, you got to depend on that for the receiver position. It's not like the Doak Walker where, as long as you're a good running back and you have a decent line, you could probably do some damage. I think that's the downside with Biletnikoff Award is you're depending on that quarterback because if he can't get you the ball, you can't show your stuff.
I think you're on mute there.
I'm muted there, buddy. I think with the Jeremiah Smith situation, though, I like the Julian Sayin situation quite a bit. And this may be an unpopular opinion, but I think he definitely has a higher ceiling and has a stronger and better arm and can make more throws than what Will Howard is making. Will Howard had that experience, so it helped out Jeremiah Smith to really get it going in his first season. But I think as they grow together for a season or two, I think you really could see Jeremiah Smith take even another step. And I also like his surrounding cast at the receiver position. So you can't always take all the attention to Jeremiah Smith, and then you're leaving other guys open. You're leaving a Max Clare open. You're leaving open, I'm drawing a blank on the other two receivers, Carnell Tate, and they have another one that's really good too. So you're leaving a lot of guys open. So you can't always just double cover, triple cover Jeremiah Smith. I also kind of like the situation for Ryan Williams this year a little bit with Ty Simpson if he ends up being the starter. I know he's getting pushed for that job a little bit by the true freshman that came in this season. But I like how they bring in Horton from Miami to take a little bit of pressure off him as well too, because I felt like last year for Ryan Williams, it was really Ryan Williams or die at the receiver position, I felt like, for the most part. So I think those two guys have a good supporting cast this year for them. So I like both of those picks, Dave. So Bryant or Nolan, if you guys are ready, you guys can take it over.
Why don't you roll, Nolan?
Kind of like Bryant said about the Doak Walker Award, I think this one's pretty chalky as well. My number 3, I have Cam Coleman. He is the Auburn receiver. We talked about him in the episode. I truly believe that he's one of the ones that is going to take a huge step forward, and he is actually going to jump into the Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams stratosphere of receivers. They have a good offense this year. They're playing in a bunch of big games. They're going to have to throw the ball to keep up against some of these great defenses. I think he's in for a pretty big year. My number 2 is Ryan Williams, kind of already discussed. Alabama, you can't ever go wrong picking the number 1 for Alabama. They're going to put up points. They're going to be in a bunch of games. They're going to win a bunch of games. And Ryan Williams just being talented, being young, growing another year, really figuring out college football a little bit more is only going to help him this year then too. And my number 1, probably no surprise to anybody, Jeremiah Smith. I think you guys are right when you call him the best player in college football. I just don't know how much more he can really put the stats up. You know what I mean? I know I'm looking at some of their games here in Texas. He has to have a big game to beat Texas. Grambling State, Ohio, he's going to play a half of football. You start looking down the schedule, Washington might turn into a shootout. We all like Washington. Minnesota, it's going to be a slow game, probably not that many plays. Purdue, you might play a half of football. UCLA, you might play a half of football. There's some of these games that he's not going to be playing a whole bunch. That's, spoiler alert, this is why I don't have him as part of my Heisman talk, but I truly believe he's going to win receiver of the year just based on talent alone.
Well, we talked about it on this show many times. When you set the bar so high, there's only one direction you can really go. Because, he has the bar as high as you can get it for a receiver, and the only direction, honestly, is down. And if this guy goes even farther up, good God, just give it to him. Don't even have an award ceremony. Just call it the Jeremiah Smith Award, because if he goes even higher up, fellas, we are truly in the presence of legitimate greatness. And I hate that people overuse that, but that is truly what we could be witnessing with Jeremiah Smith.
We had the same conversation last year. Obviously Luther Burden is not Jeremiah Smith, but Luther Burden had almost 1,400 yards his sophomore year. That was truly his ceiling. And obviously, I think Jeremiah Smith is better. But like you mentioned, Colin, I think there's a chance for a little bit of regression, but not because of the player himself. I think this is going to be the situation that he's in. So I think he's a shoo-in for this as well. But good point on that, Nolan. I didn't really think about it that deep as far as he may not really put as good of stats up this year for that very reason.
I think he just wins on talent alone, name value, all that stuff, because there's a lot of NFL scouts that believe this guy is a top 10 NFL receiver, and he's still 18, 19 years old, forced to play college football. I say forced, playing college football still because he can't declare for the NFL draft yet because he doesn't have the required amount of years.
He would have been the first receiver last year. He'd be the first receiver this year. He'd be the first receiver next year. I mean, no matter when he goes, he would be the first. And yeah, the amount of weight and size he put on.
Dude, I was researching for the show, and tell me if I'm wrong, but this guy honestly reminds me of Megatron when he was in college at Georgia Tech. Like, they play almost the same style.
Yeah. No.
Big dude, can run elite routes and catches absolutely everything. So
absolute great comparison.
Those are some big shoes to fill if he's going to get to there, but I think he definitely could.
Hey, Brian, why don't you surprise us with your top three for the Biletnikoff?
Hey, me and Nolan, we did not talk, I promise, but I have the same three. Smith, Ryan Williams, and Cam Coleman. Me and Nolan are the two captains on the Cam Coleman train this year. The only thing I'll add to this story with him this season is the dude kind of burst onto the scene later in the season last year, and that was with Peyton Thorne throwing him the football. If you have Jackson Arnold, where I think it's going to be him throwing the ball this year, or whoever their other guy is, we think it's going to be Arnold. I think the sky's the limit for him. Tall, lanky dude, catches everything just like Smith does, and is playing on a team I don't feel like has as much pressure to perform up to the standards that they're put on this season. So he's going to ball out, I think, for Auburn this year. I'm agree right with Nolan. I think he's going to be in the conversation with Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith at the end of the season. That's why I put him at 3. I think we've discussed Williams and Smith enough. So those two other guys are my 1 and 2.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree with you guys. I have all three of those guys on my list, but not necessarily in the top 3 and not necessarily at number 1. So I'll go ahead and go. I do have Jeremiah Smith as my number 3, surprise. But I did like I said, on the Doak Walker a little bit. I kind of shuffle these guys around a little bit. I want to go get some value if I'm placing some bets on some of this stuff. And I want guys that aren't necessarily the front runners in this thing. So my number 2 for this award is a guy by the name of Jordan Tyson. And he is a guy that a lot of people are forgetting about because he was not healthy when Arizona State played in the playoffs and made that run. But this was the guy whenever Arizona State was making that run. Has a great connection with Sam Leavitt. He was an absolute monster. He's the main lead guy. He's reception target monster. And if he would have made and been healthy in the playoffs, this would be a guy that more people are talking about a whole lot more. And it could have been a different outcome in that football game. I mean, this was the only guy that was really going and getting things done outside Cam Scatterbo for Arizona State when they made that run. And this guy in the final 2 games of the season last year had 21 receptions for 301 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that was before the playoffs. Those were in the final 3 games. This guy is an absolute monster. 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, 75 receptions, averaging 14.7 per reception. This guy is the real damn deal. So make sure you guys are getting him on your list. Moving on to my number 1 is a guy that we have not talked about yet, and I'm really anxious to see what everybody thinks about this. It is a guy by the name of Denzel Boston. He is the lead receiver for Washington. He is a first-round talent. He had nagging injuries all last season, still had 63 receptions for 834 yards and 9 touchdowns, ripping off 13.2 per reception. And I've talked on this show in our Wins podcast and the Big Ten podcast, I have made a serious case for quarterback Damon Williams to be the next big thing out of Washington at the quarterback position. If that guy takes that step, this connection with Denzel Boston is going to be a problem for all opposing teams in the Big Ten. This is a big frame receiver, fellas. He's 6'4", 210 pounds. This guy is an absolute mammoth, and you can book it here this guy will be a first-round receiver pending health as long as nothing takes him out of that situation. Love me some Denzel Boston, and I am very set on the Jordan Tyson, Denzel Boston bargain that I can get these guys for right now.
I love those picks, Colin, because it goes right back to what Dave said. I think these two guys have way better connections with their quarterbacks than Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith and probably Cam Coleman as well. That's going to bode well for them. Love the Tyson pick for sure, and Denzel Boston is definitely a sleeper for this award. So good choices there.
Yeah, I love the Denzel Boston pick because, not very many shows are going to have these guys that aren't talked about much, which is a great part about us having 4 different people. We're all going to come up with different ideas. We're all going to have something different. So the next thing I want to talk about is the Davey O'Brien Award. I know that one's going to get probably juicy. For those of you that don't know, that is the top quarterback in the country. I'm going to go ahead and start off, and I'm going to say I got Garrett Nussmeier. I know a lot of people like Cade Klubnik. A lot of people there's just a lot of names up there that people are talking about. Again, I think this is one of those years where I don't know that there's a true best quarterback at the moment, but I think Garrett Nussmeier has the talent to do it. I also think that he has the experience. I mean, he is a senior, so he's been around the block for a little bit. I mean, he did back up Jaden Daniels, so he backed up a Heisman guy already. He kind of knows what it takes to win these big awards. And not to mention, LSU has a heck of a slate this year. I mean, they are playing some big names. And to our point, yes, if a team does well, the quarterback's going to get all the praise for it. If they do bad, he's going to get all the negative connotations behind it. And I think LSU has a very promising season this year. I mean, look at their schedule, you guys. I mean, they've got Clemson, LA Tech, Florida, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, Alabama, Arkansas, Western Kentucky, not that big of a deal, Oklahoma. I mean, they got a solid schedule. So if they can win out or at least have a good season, which I think they will, we'll kind of really see that first game. I think is going to be a big indication of where they're heading because they play Clemson right off the bat. But I think if LSU can do well and Garrett Nussmeier can just perform like he has been performing, because he's been a pretty consistent performer to this point, I think that award is his for the taking. He can only lose it for himself. And I do believe in Cade Klubnik a lot too. So, if I was to have a second, I'd probably have Cade Klubnik solely on the fact that Clemson, the ACC is not going to be as insane as what LSU schedule is. I just find it hard to believe that Garrett Nussmeier is not going to win this award. And I hope you guys prove me wrong. So who wants to go next with their picks? Because I want to hear what everybody else has too.
I'll take it.
No, go ahead.
It goes off Collins' receivers over there. My number 3 is Sam Levitt. I was trying to figure out a way to get Jordan Tyson into the receiver conversation. I just couldn't leave off those 3 dudes. Like Bryant said, I think we're president, vice president of the Cam Coleman Club this year. If Arizona State repeats as the Big 12 champs, they make it to the playoffs, and they have a legit shot at winning, it will be Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson, Kanye Udoh, who is leading the charge. And I think Sam Levitt is he's their captain, their emotional leader. He's their captain. He is the number 1 driving force behind why they are going to repeat this year. My number 2 for the Davey O'Brien Award is Cade Klubnik. I think he's going to have a great season this year. Again, same thing as I kind of said about TJ Parker. They get the benefit of playing the ACC schedule. They're going to put up points. There's some of the teams in the ACC that can also put up points. Even on their defense, they will still have some people score 21 points on them. You got to keep scoring to stay ahead, and I think that's going to let him play into the fourth quarter of most of their games this year. And then my winner for the Davey O'Brien Award, Garrett Nussmeier. Just like Dave said, I think he is probably the number 1 quarterback, pure passing, just quarterback in college football this year. They got a lot of big games this year. If they're going to make the playoffs like everybody LSU wants to happen, it's got to be Garrett Nussmeier is the number 1 reason to do it. He threw for a bunch of yards last year with not as good of a receiving core as he has this year. I know they lost both their tackles, but they just their line couldn't seem to figure out how to play together last year, even with all that talent. If they can figure out how to play a little bit better cohesively, protect him, especially up the middle this year, I think he's in for another big year. And doing it back to back, I think you got to give him the award at that point.
Garrett Nussmeier threw for 4,000 yards. I mean, this dude's an absolute animal. I agree with you guys. I think we could see him go 1-1 in the draft. He's a senior. Love everything about Garrett Nussmeier. Bryant, go ahead. What do you got?
My number 3 for the David O'Brien Award is Arch Manning. I'm falling for the hype here a little bit. I went and watched some more film on him from last season. I don't really understand why he didn't play more. I get Ewers was there, but when Arch Manning was in, I mean, he had a 75-yard touchdown run. He was moving up and down the field, and he has all the intangibles of his father and uncles to be a great quarterback in this league. Could see him struggling a little bit to start off with it being him fully under center for the whole season. But like I mentioned, he came in and in sparingly time, 9 touchdowns and almost 1,000 yards. I think he skyrockets this year, and he has some of the best weapons, I think, in the SEC to make that happen. So falling for the hype a little bit, but after watching some film, I think I'm good with it. My second is Cade Klubnik. I'm right there with Nolan. Think he has probably one of the best receiving corps in the country in Wesco, Moore, and Williams. Those guys are all elite, and Cade Klubnik gets to benefit from that. Like you mentioned, Nolan, they're going to have to score some points, I think, to compete in the ACC, and he's going to do it. I mean, 36 touchdowns to 6 picks. That's insane. And top 15 QBR numbers. So I love Cade Klubnik there at number 2. And my number 1 is also Garrett Nussmeier. We talked about him a bunch on this show, especially today. And before I have him winning this award, only thing I want to see from him is cut down on the interceptions. I get he had to try to score some points any way possible last year. So he's maybe thrown into some questionable coverages, but I think he can cut down on those this year. I think he's an easily 35 touchdown guy with that receiving core. Excited to see him play, and I have Garrett Nussmeier at 1.
Dude, Garrett Nussmeier's receiving core is going to be even better this year. And I think this whole entire receiving core damn near runs like a 4.3 40. So he has plenty of talent around him and another year of experience, another year of continuity. My one concern a little bit with the Garrett Nussmeier thing, and spoiler alert, he's going to be on my list too. He's actually my number 2, and I was going to talk about this when I talked about him, is the Brian Kelly situation. Because when things go south, Brian Kelly is not afraid to put all of that on the quarterback's shoulders. So how does Nussmeier handle that? Obviously, we know he did okay with it last year. But, I mean, it just – a lot of that puts a little fatigue on you. You get that mental fatigue going when everything else is already going. So that is my one concern for Garrett Nussmeier. But, fellas, I agree for the most part. And I have Cade Klubnik as my number 3 as well, and Garrett Nussmeier as my number 2. But I'm going to switch it up yet again. You guys know me well enough. I'm going to go ahead and throw a curveball here. And my number 1 is going to be a guy that I have recently talked about, how I am no longer all in on this guy. Well, spoiler alert, I think Drew Aller can go ahead and win the Davey O'Brien Award. Here's why. I'm going to go and spoil this too. I don't think Drew Aller has a shot to win the Heisman Trophy Award. I think Drew Aller has a shot to go in the Davey O'Brien Award. I talked earlier in this episode about how I'm making a case where you could see a quarterback go win the Heisman, but not win the Davey O'Brien. I don't think in today's college football, I should say, I don't think Drew Aller gets mobile enough to go win a Heisman as well. I think Drew Aller throws the ball well enough where he can win the Davey O'Brien Award. This is a guy that everybody's talking about, big body, big frame, has been there for a while, and has all the continuity. You get another year with Andy Kotelnicki, who everybody was talking about last year is going to take Drew Aller to new heights. Outside of Tyler Warren, Drew Aller couldn't take it to new heights last year. So I think this year is the year. They bring in Trebor Pena from Syracuse. They bring in a couple other receivers that I think are better than what they had last year. So I do think Drew Aller can sling the rock well enough, take care of the ball well enough, read defenses well enough to go win the Davey O'Brien Award this season. And like I said, his name's always in publicity right now. This team's talked about as the championship front runners. It is already setting up for Drew Aller to go take care of business. He just has to take care of business.
Hey, well, let's talk about Taylor Green. I think Jordan mentioned Taylor Green, but Jordan, I'm going to go ahead and say 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Probably not going to win it. Not to be that
Jordan
guy.
might be.
Probably not going to do it.
Jordan might be too far into the adult beverages with that pick.
Jordan definitely is in the college football league with us and must have drafted Taylor Green and is trying to hype himself up a little bit. He's also throwing shots across the bow because last year I said this guy wants to draft Drew Aller. And once again, I just made this case on the show. If you pay attention, Jordan, we're talking about how he doesn't get mobile enough. So in a fantasy world, probably not going to get you as many points as some of these other quarterbacks that get out here and unhook the wagon and get things done. And here's another guy in our league talking about how he had the chance and passed on him. Hey, man, you played right into my hand. I played you a little bit, said don't go get him, and you didn't go get him. So he falls to our Deep Threat Sports Network analyst Nolan here for his football team. So,
Yes,
fellas, jokes on you guys for this one. So I do think Drew Aller can go win this award, though, but I don't think that he is fantasy relevant in college football or necessarily Heisman relevant with everybody else surrounding him that can go win this award. So, Dave,
I got one thing. I got one thing to add on Nussmeier. Could you guys imagine it? It's such a tragedy with Kyron Lacey. Could you imagine if he was in this offense? Like that would be. Well, that's going to be a shoo-in, man.
He was going to the draft, right? Kyron
Lacey. I thought he was coming back for a year.
I think he was declared for the draft and kind of moving on. I believe. I could be
never
wrong.
mind then, but yeah, I thought he was coming back.
It is a sad situation that took place there. It's really unfortunate, and you hear about it way too often in today's world in college football, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, get us to what everybody truly came here for.
So the next we're going to talk about the Heisman, which is the overall best player in the country. But before we get there, let's talk about our, I guess it would be all one unit, but let's talk about our Heisman long shot first. So a guy that could win it, but it's probably not going to happen. I know for me, the long shot, I have Jeremiah Smith, and I've talked a lot of great things about Jeremiah Smith, but again, he is a wide receiver. We know that the Heisman a lot of times goes to a quarterback, and I think that's because part of it is, most of these picks are coming from the media, which what do the media want? They want the big touchdowns. They want the big passes. They want all the excitement, all the flash, and wide receivers aren't necessarily always that way. You have a couple guys, yes, like Ryan Williams, like Jeremiah Smith, that are really good. But quarterbacks they're always the center of attention. So I think that's why they always win it. And that's why I have Jeremiah Smith as a long shot, because of the fact that he's not a quarterback. I think he has the talent. But for me, the Heisman itself, I would go ahead and give it to Cade Klubnik. And that may seem a little odd because I have Garrett Nussmeier winning the Davey O'Brien Award, which you would think the Davey O'Brien Award is probably going to be the same person that wins the Heisman. But man,
hey, back my case up a little bit. Cade Klubnik can get a lot more mobile than Garrett Nussmeier,
and he's more exciting to watch.
Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, I don't want to call the guy a statue because not really a statue, but he's a pocket passer for the most part in a modern college football that like to see guys get out of the pocket and go do some things with their legs. And
Clemson's schedule's not bad.
Klubnik's sneaky fast.
Oh yeah, Klubnik has some wheels, and not to mention they're not, being the ACC, they're not going to play anybody too crazy. I think LSU game 1 is probably going to be their biggest challenge, and from there on out, it's not bad. The ACC is not that great this year, so I think he has a lot of games to put up stats, to put up numbers, and really make a name for himself. So that's why I have Cade Klubnik.
Can I give you some advice real quick for the bettors out there that are going to take a Klubnik or a Nussmeier to win the Heisman? Wait till the loser of that game and the LSU Clemson game square off, and whoever loses, that's when you go bet a Klubnik or a Nussmeier, or if you see an Arch Manning lose week 1 to Ohio State, that's when you go bet those guys, because people give up. People are very impulsive and very quick to sell stake in what they have in some of these guys, and that's where you can get some really juicy odds if you want some of these front runners. Because right now, I mean, I'm imagining I'm going to be one of the only ones that talks about a guy that's not necessarily a front runner to go win this award. So, Nolan, who you got? Who's your long shot, I should say?
I'll go through all 3 of my long shots here. So number 3, Bryce Underwood. When we talked about Michigan and we talked about, maybe they're not the best team. Then we had to walk it back a little bit our very next episode. If Michigan overperforms their expectations this year, it's because they all of a sudden have a pass game. Their defense was good last year. They beat Ohio State. But if they are actually going to win some more of these games, it will be because of the pass game. They weren't it last year. Bryce Underwood is a super highly recruited player. He will be good, maybe not this year, but long shot to win. If Michigan really overperforms, Bryce Underwood could easily be in that conversation. My number 2, John Mateer. On the SEC episode, I was talking about how good I think Oklahoma is going to be this year. I think they're going to overperform their expectations. And again, same thing as what Michigan was last year. Oklahoma had a good defense. Oklahoma had a decent line. They're going to have one of the better offensive lines this year. And then their quarterback play, if it steps up, they could really easily take a step forward. I don't think they're going to win the SEC or anything like that, but they could really easily take a large step forward. And John Mateer could be one of those people, similar to like the Jaden Daniels year. It's just him dragging the team across the finish line with them.
Just focus on receiver health too.
Yep. And then my number 1 long shot to win, it probably looks worse as we sit today compared to when I sent this in to Colin, with DJ Lagway taking another injury, it looks like. But if that guy ever figures out how to get healthy, he is some kind of combination of Cam Newton, Ben Roethlisberger, and he is how we talk about Jeremiah Smith being the best college football player. I think DJ Lagway, if he decides to just stay healthy for a full season, he could be in the running for the best college football player. It's amazing how good this guy is when he actually plays. He played on one hamstring last year in 2 different games and just willed them to a win. If you tell me he stays healthy, he has 2 functional hamstrings and he can actually run the way he wants to, that guy's going to put up big numbers. He's going to have lots of Heisman moments. It would be tough if Florida is looking at, say, a 9-3 record, a 10-2 record at the end of the year. It'd be tough to say he's not the reason why, and tough to keep him out of the Heisman contention.
Weren't they 6-0 when he played full games? I'm pretty sure they were like 6-0 when he stood on the field the whole entire game.
I'm telling you, it sounds crazy to say, but he is some kind of combination of Cam Newton, Ben Roethlisberger when he's on the field. And if you're telling me it's the combination of those two I get to play a quarterback,
wild
that's
combo.
Insane.
Yeah.
That's a wild combination. That's like 2 polar opposites.
Bryant, who's your long shot?
My long shot is I only have one. I'd like to maybe add one off the cuff if I can. Sure. Is that okay with the show?
That's okay with
the show. First one is Jeremiah Love. I think we've talked about him plenty in this show. I think we can probably agree he's likely top 5, if not the best running back in the country. So if he puts up stats better than what he did last year, he's going to be shown on TV a bunch playing in big games. I think they have a chance to make a deep run this year. I think he has an easily a chance of some of these quarterbacks to sneak in there, at least get in the conversation, maybe win the thing. So my long shot is Jeremiah Love on paper. My second one is a similar guy to DJ Lagway, but I'm going with Lenore Sellers. I think he plays similarly to DJ Lagway, just stays healthy. That guy is extremely good, and they're going to be a good team this year. He's got a stud out there on his side, Nick Harbor. South Carolina has a chance to be a good football team. And if Norris Sellers puts it all together this year, we saw glimpses last season. That guy is just as athletic and just as good of a quarterback as anybody else in the country, in my opinion. So I wanted to add him on here as well as a long shot.
More on Lenore Sellers coming later. I'm going to move on to my long shots. And my long shots, fellas, you know me, I have a list. I have Dylan Raiola, Devin Dampier, Avery Johnson, Austin Simmons, and Damon Williams. I am truly infatuated with all these guys this season. I think all these guys take the right step. You've heard me talk time and time again about Damon Williams, and I don't need to say anything else about him. Moving on real quick, try to keep this short because I have so many guys on this list. Austin Simmons, an absolute gunslinger, throws a baseball like 98 miles an hour for Ole Miss as well. This dude can absolutely sling the rock. We saw him come in last year when I'm drawing a blank on the quarterback's name that was there last year that just got drafted. He gets hurt, goes down for a couple series, and he comes in. Austin Simmons drives him right down the field. I thought it was crazy that they pulled him out of the game. Also, had Avery Johnson on our show last year. We talked about him time and time again. He was a guy that they moved Will Howard out of this team for him. I absolutely love what Avery Johnson brings to the table. Can get mobile, can make all the throws, just has to get a little bit more confidence, has to get a little bit more, I guess, moxie on the field and just trust what he's doing. I mean, this is absolutely an offense that Avery Johnson can run, and Jace Brown's a great receiver for Avery Johnson. I think this coaching staff fits well for him. They bring in a new OC. I like what Avery Johnson has to offer. Devin Dampier out in Utah, taking over the team this season. We know what is life like without the 12-year veteran out there in Utah, and we get Devin Dampier, a new style of football for this Utah football team. I think he is a guy to make sure you have on your radar as well. And Dylan Raiola. We all came on this show, and we talked about how Dylan Raiola and this Nebraska team can really take the next step and become an even better football team this year. Jordan, you know damn good and well I am not a Patrick Mahomes guy. I know Dylan Raiola wants to be Patrick Mahomes. Funny comment there. But, yeah, Dylan Raiola truly can make all the throws. He was one of the most highly touted quarterbacks coming out of high school, true five-star, and he is an absolute gamer when he doesn't have his head up his ass. Come in this season, have a full year under your belt, read the defense, make the throws, look some guys off, and I truly think Dylan Raiola and this Nebraska team could be off to the races this season. So that was a real quick brief Collins long shots, a list of 5 guys. If I would have kept going, I would have listed all the Heisman candidates, but these are all guys that I felt like we had to talk about on this show. So let's move on into our Heisman front runners here, guys that we truly think go and win it this season. Dave, did you already give yours? I think you gave yours. Did you give it? You spoiler alerted it pretty early in Cade Klubnik. So, Bryant, why don't you go ahead and give us your 3, 2, 1?
My third pick is falling for the hype again, Arch Manning. I think he can have an elite season this year. Like I mentioned in the Davey O'Brien Award, I think he's going to be right there in the Heisman talk. He already is. I'm pretty sure he's the betting favorite right now.
The front runner.
Everybody else is falling for the hype too. So my number 3 is Arch Manning. I don't truly believe in him 100% right now, but I think I could easily be convinced by like week 4 or 5. So we'll see where he goes.
Hey, you know what helps
number 3?
You know what helps Arch Manning win the Heisman Award?
The last name.
The last name is Manning.
Yeah.
So, I don't blame you for this.
But hey, he's Cooper's son, not Peyton or Eli. So
his last name is Manning.
I also heard that Cooper was better than both of those guys. He just couldn't stay healthy. That's the rumor.
That's the rumor on the street.
Arch Manning is number 3. My number 2 is Cade Klubnik. I think he easily could win it, but I have him at number 2. Talked about him a bunch already. He's going to be in a bunch of big games and put up a bunch of stats, I think. So I think he's going to be right there in the talk, and I think he'll be in New York come December. And my pick for the Heisman Trophy Award winner is Garrett Nussmeier. My picks are right in line with Davey O'Brien, which a lot of times you see that happen with this award. So I'm rolling with Garrett Nussmeier. I think he comes out and plays to his full potential this year, leads LSU to a great season. It cuts down on the interceptions and wins the Heisman Trophy Award.
Nolan?
I couldn't narrow it down to 3, so I got 4 of them here. Number 4, I have Arch Manning. Again, like Colin said, it's his name. I think he could have an okay year, maybe above average year, and they'll probably throw him in because of the last name. Not hating on the guy. I think Texas is going to have a great year. I think he's a great player, but we'll see if he deserves it at the end of the year, I should say. My number 3 is Drew Aller. I think Penn State is going to go very far this year, and I think Drew Aller is going to be the reason. The running back room is great. Don't get me wrong. We already talked about them. But I think Drew Aller being the leader of Penn State in some of their big game moments, that's the Heisman moments you're talking about. My number 2, I have Garrett Nussmeier. Again, I think LSU is going to be good this year. I think Garrett Nussmeier is going to be the reason. I just don't think he is as mobile as my Heisman winner, Cade Klubnik. I think he's going to have more of those Heisman moments. It's going to be throwing and running the ball for Cade Klubnik. He's going to play basically all game, every game, and barring injury. But they're going to have to score a lot of points this year. And just the Heisman moments, I think you could see rushing and passing. I think that's what really does it.
Hey, I'll be honest. These are definitely 3 or 4 guys that should be constantly talked about, especially coming up for this award. I like all your guys' picks, but I'm going to go ahead and keep switching things up. So I'm going to keep it real brief on my number 3 and my number 2. My number 3 is Cade Klubnik. My number 2 is Garrett Nussmeier for all reasons that we've already talked about with those 2 guys. And I am going to throw
You're not doing it. You're not doing it, are you?
I told you guys this in May. I stand on my business, and I do not change. My Heisman Trophy winner for this season is going to be none other than Lenoris Sellers. Lenoris Sellers, fellas, is a big-bodied quarterback, can make all the throws. Nolan, I don't like you shaking your head right now because this guy can make all the throws. Listen, has a good receiving core, can put a lot of faith in Nick Harbor. Does the offensive line hold up is the question. But I'm telling you, seriously, Lenoris Sellers can make all the throws on a football field. Lenoris Sellers can get out under pressure, go scramble for a first down, extend plays, extend drives. We saw this guy absolutely take our hearts and rip them apart against Mizzou late in the football game. I mean, this Lenoris Sellers truly came to his own down the stretch and really grew into a really good quarterback. It's just a matter of if the first read's not there, what does he do then? That is the question. If you can grow this season and be better under pressure, truly, fellas, this guy can run the ball, can throw the ball. I truly think Lenoris Sellers can go make a push to win the Heisman Trophy this year. And we all think South Carolina is going to be a little bit better even than they were last year. And it's going to, okay, no one does not, but the rest of us do. And I mean, I think is it going to be tough? Yes. And obviously he's not a Cade Klubnik, a guy that everybody's talking about. He's not an Archman that everybody's talking about. He's not a Garrett Nussmeier everybody's talking about. He doesn't play for Penn State. He's not Drew Out. So those are the things that he has to overcome. But if South Carolina can keep punching up and South Carolina can get their names into conversations, can play at good time slots, be on the big stage, people can really see what Lenoris Sellers can go do. So I think he definitely has the chance to go win the Heisman this year. And you guys know I'm all about betting odds. And I love where you can go get Lenoris Sellers right now compared to some of these other guys. I'm going to wait, like I said, on these other guys for them to maybe suffer a loss and people write them off. And then maybe I'll go get a little live action on an Arch Manning, a Garrett Nussmeier, or a Cade Klubnik. So
this is the guy you take right now.
This is the guy you seriously go get right now because if it gets worse for him on the betting odds, he has no chance. If he continues to gain, he's going to gain traction very, very quick and become a really trendy, hot pick, and then you're no longer going to get the odds you can get right now. This is definitely the guy, yes, Brian, that you go get tomorrow.
Colin, that was the episode I got cut out on because of my internet. I think South Carolina's win total is under this year.
Okay.
That's the only reason I'm shaking my head at you.
What are the reasons that you think that they're under? Like I get it. They have a tougher schedule and it doesn't always look as promising, but what are your real reasons for like not liking them as much this season?
Tougher schedule. Defense, I think, takes a step back this year.
Yeah.
And then Lenoris Sellers, he had some decision-making issues. It wasn't can he make the throws, it's his decision-making. When he's got all that pressure on him at the end of games because defense can't make a stop, I think that's where you see his decision issues all over again. And it's just my perspective. I know lots of people are thinking they're going to contend for maybe not very top of the SEC, but they're going to be pushing that number 3, 4, 2 spot, and they're going to be in the playoffs. So
I think
just the way I see it.
I think it definitely falls on his shoulders, right? Ron, to answer your question, I think he's plus 1,800 per DraftKings when I looked this morning. If anybody wants to check that real quick, but I believe that's where he's sitting. And that's why I like him. Plus 1,800. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's double what you're getting on Arch Manning let me pull it up. Arch Manning at plus 650, Garrett Nussmeier plus 850, Cade Klubnik plus 950, Jeremiah Smith in fourth at plus 1,100, Drew Aller plus 1,600. Lenore Sellers, all you shit talkers out there, is actually in 6th at plus 1,800. So that is where it comes into play. And all of a sudden, Ron left the comment said fading him. Ron hears a little plus 1,800 and all of a sudden loves that line. So, yeah, hey, it gets a little bit juicy out there, fellas, when you start talking about some of these things if you're trying to make a buck. And like Brian said, it's going to get no better than what it is right now if he has a chance to win it. Anything else?
Castellanos plus 10,000.
Whatever you're going to bet on Thomas Castellanos, just Venmo me. I can drop my Venmo at the end. And don't even worry about wasting your time.
Guess who has the same odds?
Bo Prabula. Bam, baby. I was a guess. Yeah.
Damon Williams.
Hey, people legit put money on Diego Pavia.
Legit question related to that then. Who would you rather bet on, Castellanos or Prabula?
Oh, Bo Prabula all the way. And that's not even a homer pick.
Castellanos, yeah.
I think Castellanos because we play in the ACC. If they catch fire and they get to the top of the ACC, it's because Castellanos is healthy. He's playing 10, 11 games, and he's running for his life all over the field. I would never bet that, but at the same time, if I had to take one of the two, I think I'm taking Castellanos.
I'm taking Castellanos for sure, and there's many reasons. One, I think Bo Prabula might be losing a little bit of traction as a starter. I think Sam Horn's really pushing him. You hear Matt Zoller's name getting brought up a lot. Do I think Zoller's plays? No. But, there is some real traction for Sam Horn to go get in there and at least get some snaps. So, at that point, you're stealing snaps from Bo Prabula, who then at that point doesn't have as gaudy of a line. I'm not a Thomas Castellanos fan. I don't think he's actually really that good at all. But easier schedule. Plays for Florida State, plays for a name brand. If he happens to get this team back from their awful season last season, people are going to think Thomas Castellanos hung the moon. So there is a lot for him to gain versus a Bo Prabula and anybody else really in that range. So that would be my pick for sure. I think Bo Prabula is a better quarterback if he just gets the chance to go prove it, yes. And that's not a homer pick either. Anything else on Heisman conversation? I'm surprised nobody had Sam Levitt in this conversation, honestly. I'm surprised that
Sam Levitt is lower than Lenore Sellers as far as odds are concerned.
Lenore Sellers are going to go win this award. Oh, Dave, I know a guy you want to talk about real quick before we get out of here. Diego Pavia. Dave, give your guy some love. Give Diego Pavia a little bit of love. I'm trying to find him as it sits right now on the draft on the
probably not real high.
No, but let me tell you this. I would think that Diego Pavia would damn near have as good of a chance, if not better, than a Bo Prabula or a Thomas Castellanos.
I agree.
Now, if Diego plus 20,000. Now, if Diego Pavia goes and wins, it's shit really hit the pan in college football. Really hit the pan in college football.
$1 pays you $2,000.
Man, might have to drop a couple dollars.
It's worth a few floaters out there for Pavia. If you want to just get me a soda for my drive to work in the morning, you can do that too. But I don't hate it. So anything else on Heisman? Anything else on any of these awards, fellas? All good? Okay. What it looks like for us moving forward is I will go ahead and read our schedule off for the remainder of the way. Next week, make sure you tune in. We have our win totals book it segment. That's going to be a really fun episode where we come at you. We did all the win totals for all the Power 4 conferences. We did our top 9 G5 teams. We're going to come back, reconvene, and we're all going to drop our win total book it. Those are the ones that you make sure you want to get in on, and do not miss that episode. After that, week of August 11th, we have the playoffs and conference winners. Week of August 18th, we're going to transition back to 2 episodes a week. The first episode that week, we're going to do a little coaching hot seat, and then we're going to move into the later episode that week, the second one of week of August 18th, and do our preview for week 0. Fellas, we are 4 weeks away from doing preview shows for college football. It is here. I can taste it. I'm excited. I'm excited. I cannot wait. For all you that followed along with us live, this episode, last episode, we appreciate it. Make sure you're telling your friends, your family. Make sure that you are getting everybody in here to follow us. We have really good stuff for you guys. Won a lot of money on this show last year, and college football is back. And come follow us. We are some average fellas talking ball. Who else would you rather listen to? So appreciate all you guys that are following us so far. Hey, make sure when you are in here, you're leaving comments, telling us that our picks suck, telling us that our picks are great. Make sure you're also liking the show. That helps us out a lot too. We appreciate all of you showing up and showing out for us so far. So you can follow us on YouTube at Deep Threat Sports, Apple Deep Threat Sports, Spotify Deep Threat Sports, X, DT_sports_, Facebook, Deep Threat Sports Network. That's Brian, that's Nolan, that's Dave. I'm Colin. Fellas, until next time, peace.